Love how all the wires are tucked away, and I love how they're tucked away. In some of the other bike brands, you can see they I just feel like the level of engineering on Trek and how they integrate everything is top notch. I also really like the ISO-speed decoupler. At first I thought it was this gimmicky thing where you can set it and you can feel the different tension in the rear of the bike, but after using it, it definitely worked. You can feel, when you put it on light, you can feel that seat bounce, and when you put it on hard, you can definitely feel the difference. So I really appreciated the engineering and I really appreciated the technology, but I don't think it's something that really helps the ride of the bike, and I'm gonna get into that in a moment. I also really love the Bontrager components. I think Bontrager has really stepped up their game over the last 5 years. I haven't bought a Bontrager product that I was disappointed with. Their most recent wheels and handlebars, in my opinion, are top notch, but they're a fortune. But that's the other thing that I really loved about the Madone, is I really like the Bontrager products that came with it. Now here are the things that I dislike about the Madone. The rough ride on the front end of that bike because of the big wide fork and the big thick handlebars. And this is where I don't think the rear ISO-speed decoupler does anything. From my experience, you're taking all the hits in the front. Like when you're holding onto that bike and you're going over the rough road and you're getting jackhammered, the rear means nothing. And I mean, most of my rides are hard. So when you're going hard and you have the pressure on the pedals, you're kind of keeping your butt up off the saddle. So, and you have your legs to absorb a lot of the shock in the rear end. To me, it's really, most of the vibration and most of the rough ride comes on the front end, unless you're doing easy spins. So that's where I think the ISO-speed decoupler is more of a gimmicky thing, and it's not really, it's a great selling feature, but in terms of like making the ride easier, I don't really think it does that, because most of the, like I keep saying, most of the vibration and most of getting bumped, in my opinion, comes from the front end. Second thing I dislike, and it's a double-edged sword, is the integration. If you gotta work on that bike and you gotta take those handlebars off, or you gotta rerun a wire or a cable or something, it's an absolute nightmare. And then if you have a mechanical version of that bike and you gotta rerun a derailleur wire, or you got, it's crazy. And it's something I definitely disliked about the bike, taking those handlebars apart. But at the same time, like I said, I like it because I think it looks amazing, but I dislike it when I gotta work on the bike. So, double-edged sword, but definitely they go in both like and dislike. The other thing that I think is the biggest problem with this bike is the weight. I think even if you have the SLR version loaded down, they say 16 pounds, but once you get everything on there, you get the pedals on there, your Garmin bottles and cages and all that stuff. And I mean, here's the problem with these bikes and the weights of them, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later, is it's very subjective, because you can get crazy and strip everything down off that bike and make it completely a lot lighter. You can strip a pound off that bike if you wanted to by just riding it without anything. And then you could put 2 pounds on it if you wanted to, with bottles and bags and bark, cages and different things, and all that stuff adds up. When you have the Di2 Bluetooth connector, when you have some mount, you got some light mount on there, it all adds up. And then the last thing that I disliked about the Madone is the cost. I mean, these bikes are fucking crazy. Pardon my French, but these bikes are so expensive. And anytime I post a video, like I said, about these bikes, someone in the comments is like, these bikes are a fortune. And again, at the end of the video, we're gonna talk a little bit about what I think, are these bikes worth it? And this is a tough question. All right, let's go to the Emonda, the things I like and the things I dislike about the Emonda. I love the way the new Emonda looks. I have the red one. I love the color of the bike. I love the new colorways. I love the integration. I love how it's integrated under the bars. You can take the bars off, and I really appreciate that, and I think it's definitely a positive. I like the weight, but there's a caveat with the weight. Apparently the new Emonda is heavier than the last Emonda, but I definitely like the weight of this bike. I like that it's disc. I think my bike is exactly 16 pounds with everything on it, with the pedals and the Garmin mount and everything, and I really like that. On the new Emonda, the Aeolus bars and the RSL wheels, I think, those RSL wheels, they're as light as the 2s, and they say they're as aerodynamic as the 6s, and I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. I also really like the new bottom bracket, the threaded bottom bracket. Their old bottom bracket, that BB92 thing, was absolute junk. When I took my crank off, the bearing just fell out. Like it's not even held in there properly. And that's on my speed concept. I didn't like the BB92. I definitely like this new T487 bottom bracket. Definitely the way to go. And the last thing that I like about the Emonda, and this is an ego thing, and we're gonna talk about this at the end because this kind of goes in with the price, is I like having the newest and latest bike. It just feels nice to know that I'm riding a top-notch bike. And yeah, I definitely like that. Now here are the things I dislike. The seat mast, they need a new seat mast. I just don't like the way it's set up. It needs to work better to make fine adjustments. It's not good. The skewers, I don't like the skewers. I don't like how it has that little ratchet system and you move it from one to the other. And the other skewers they have, the DT Swiss ones, they just seem big. I'd like it if they have a bit more streamlined skewers, something a bit more, you know, just something nicer. And like the problem with that little ratcheting system, when you do want to use an Allen key instead of the ratcheting system, the Allen key doesn't want to go in there and then you don't know if you're in. And I just don't like it at all, and I think they could have a better skewer system. The weight, it could be lighter. I've had some comments from people on my other videos, and this Emonda is heavier than the last Emonda, and you know that's obviously going in the wrong direction. And again, another dislike is the cost. I think this bike's like $500 less than the Madone, and like in Canada, you do a top end spec on one of these bikes, I think you're pushing like 20 grand, and that's friggin' crazy. 20 grand for a bike? I mean, which bike should you buy? Now, this is a tough question. I chose the Emonda and I sold my Madone. Quick funny story about selling my Madone. I put it up for $8,000 and I met this guy and I started talking to him about the bike. I'm like, oh, here's the tubeless stuff and like showing him stuff. He's like, I don't care about that. I'm just gonna ride it around High Park, Toronto, and I want it for the compliments. I'm like, you want it for the compliments? He's like, yeah, the compliments. I want people to see me riding it and tell me nice bike. I'm like, whoa, that's honest, bro. That's honest. So I sell it to him. A week later, I see it on Facebook and a buddy sends it to me. He goes, bro, is this your bike? I look at it and it's for sale by a woman. So I message her, I go, hey, you're selling this bike? And she goes, yeah, I'm selling it for my boyfriend. I was like, oh, dang, that's bad. So anyways, I ended up selling my Madone. And the reason why is I just felt like the Emonda suited me better. It's really hilly where I live, and I feel like the Emonda's aero enough, and I like that weight savings, and I think it's a little bit easier to work on. Now, both of these bikes are amazing. So either of these bikes you end up with, you can't do any wrong. I personally, if you live in a more mountainous area, you want to go with an Emonda. If you live in a flatter area, you want to go with a Madone, and I just think that makes the most sense to me. But I think it just comes down to personal preference. If you love the way that Madone looks, then go for the Madone, even if you live in the mountains. If you love the way the Emonda looks and you live somewhere flat, go with the Emonda. Because at the end of the day, I don't know if the weight savings really, like, I don't know how much that's doing for you. And I've heard where like anything under 5%, the Madone could be faster anyway. So I'm not sure about all that stuff. I'm just giving you my experience with these two bikes. Now let's talk quickly about the way these bikes ride. I can definitely feel the Emonda when I stand up on an incline. The bike just responds immediately. When I get out of the saddle on that incline, it just feels like the bike wants to come out from under me. You can really feel that it's a lighter bike and there's just a lot less on the bike and it wants to go up the hill. Now, the opposite is true with the Madone. When you're tracking through a corner on that Madone or the bike picks up speed, you can definitely feel that bike want to hold its speed much more than the Emonda. And both of these bikes handle amazing, they ride amazing, and those are the two biggest differences in terms of the ride feel that I found. Definitely, Madone tracks more, you can feel it holding the speed better, and you feel like you're on a track. Where the Emonda less on the track, but when you get on that hill, you can just feel the bike responding immediately when you push down on that pedal stroke. So in terms of ride feel, those are the two differences. Now let's talk about the money, because the money is really important. It's probably the most important part. Now, I have a CAD 12 that's old, it's bent, it's got a previous gen Dura-Race on it. With the current gen shifters, it has the cheapest wheels you can buy, and when I ride that bike, I can't really feel the difference. Like, you can feel slightly the difference in ride, but is it worth 10 grand or whatever? No. In terms of just ride, no, it's obviously not worth 10 grand. in terms of the way the ride feels and its shifting and all that. Another video where I tested old Ultegra, current Ultegra, new Dura-Ace, and you couldn't tell the rear shifting. You can tell with the shifter itself because the new generation has that tactile button feel, but in terms of the rear derailleur, very difficult to tell the difference. But a company like Trek, I really love Trek as a company. I really love them as a company, and that's one of the reasons I buy their bikes. I really think they have great R&D. I really think they're on the forefront of developing new ideas and innovating new bikes. So I really like feeling like I'm on, you know, an awesome bike. So it depends on what's important to you. If the only thing that's important to you is the way the bike feels when you ride it, then you don't need to spend that kind of money. But if you want to have an awesome looking bike, have the brand name, because that's important to you, then that's obviously how much it costs. Bike Suplex Kit sponsoring my channel, and we're giving away Speedcraft 100% sunglasses. If you want to enter, all you gotta do is click the link in my video and go check out their webpage, and then boom, you're in. I think there's less than 100 people entered, so you got an awesome chance to win. Please enter, I would love it if you win. And I got something else huge happening right now, is I just ordered a Wahoo Roam. Should be coming in the next couple days, and I'm gonna compare it. I'm gonna do a video comparing it to my K2. After I shoot the video, I'm gonna give away the Wahoo Roam to one of my subscribers, and I'm really excited that I get to do this. So I'm gonna be giving away the Wahoo Roam. Watch out for that video. If you like the video, please like it. Please comment. I love to hear from you guys. And that's it. I'll see you on the next video. I'll see you soon.